Welcome to the Experience Gap, the insight shop to the rescue, where we turn customer nightmares into teachable moments for businesses. Each week, we bring you real stories of service breakdowns, highlight the moments that matter, and equip businesses with strategies to delight their customers. I'm Kate Complin, the owner of the Insight Shop. I created this podcast to give customers a voice, to share their stories and frustrations, in hopes that companies would take notice, listen, and take action, as customers are your most important assets. Joining me today is Margo Francis, a professional working mom with a sick 11-year-old. Margo, it's great to have you on my podcast.
Thanks, Kate. Nice to be here.
Tell me, Margo, about your experience making a claim for Cigna Hospital Indemnity Insurance. What fell short? What happened, and how did it impact you?
My son was sick, and we ended up in the emergency room late on a Friday night. We were then transferred over to Children's Hospital in Denver, Colorado, where he spent 2 nights and 3 days. We were discharged on Monday at 11. So obviously having a sick child's very stressful.
Yes.
After all the bills came in, I realized that I had this hospital indemnity insurance, which I remember choosing as part of my employee benefits just in case of an emergency, which of course is what we experienced. I have high deductible insurance, so I thought this would be a great supplement and way to kind of cover us in case of an emergency. So first of all, to access the information about the claim, I had to log into Cigna's portal. This is separate than my other health insurance, which is through Kaiser Permanente. So when I first logged into Cigna's portal on the homepage, it talks about my dental insurance. I couldn't find anything on the homepage about my indemnity insurance, so I started to second guess whether I even had this insurance. So that then drove me to my HR department at my company. I logged into our Mercer website just to double check I had this insurance. However, within that portal, the name of the insurance I have does not match with what it's called, so it's extremely difficult because of that naming error to actually figure out which of the 50 documents actually applied to me and was part of my benefits. So that's obviously a headache. So I was trying to get a copy of the insurance that I had just to understand what might be covered from my incident with my son. I finally had to call and get a copy emailed to me so that they could tell me which of those 50 documents worked for me. And this is through Mercer. So I finally got the document. I went back onto the Cigna site. Still couldn't figure out where my indemnity insurance is listed, but there was a claims tab. So I went to the claims tab and there was something called claims, submit a claim online. So I went to claims and all I could see were my dental claims. So I had to call them again. I called Cigna this time. And then finally, they showed me how to find my claim type, which is hidden down on the left side under claim type. It said dental and supplemental. Obviously, I needed supplemental because that's what I had. And my coverage I found listed under supplemental health. And then inside of there was a copy of our benefits. So the claims page, that's where I needed to go to make this claim. So I found the claim. Submit a claim online. That seemed like the best option. I gathered all the information I needed from the emergency room, the ambulance, Children's Hospital. They had a checklist. So I made the claim, provided all the information they asked me to, and submitted it, thinking, great, we'll get a little extra help with these large hospital bills. The claim was denied. And so obviously that was quite distressing.
Yes.
I couldn't understand why. And they said, oh, actually, there's one other thing here. So the claim was denied, but I never received a notification that it was denied. I remembered it like 2 months later. I'm like, wow, I haven't heard from Cigna. I wonder what's going on. So I had to log into their portal, proactively find where my claim was denied. So I found that, and then I called them to understand more about why. And they said, oh, you can appeal. So I was like, okay, I will appeal. So I spent loads of hours gathering yet more information, submitted the appeal, and the appeal was denied. Extremely frustrating when I knew that should be covered according to policy. I actually ended up using ChatGPT. I fed all of my information, including the policy, and it drafted me some great letters, gave me some good advice on which authority to contact here in Colorado to complain about Cigna. And also I found out that I had covered, I had MetLife legal coverage through work too. So I ended up talking to a lawyer about it. He gave me some great advice. And earlier this week, I called Cigna again. And the lawyer's advice was that it was probably a billing issue. So in my appeal, despite having submitted tons of information, they cited one code as the reason why they denied the claim. And that one code out of everything that I submitted is all they came back with. And that made me feel extremely angry because they ignored all the rest of the evidence. Had they took the time or energy to look at it, they would have realized, actually, maybe this is a valid claim. Maybe I should ask this person a few extra questions.
Right.
They did nothing, absolutely nothing to help me. None. It's all down to me, stressed out mom, sick kid, working full time. So that is my experience with Cigna Healthcare. At the moment, it remains unresolved. However, I'm still trying to resolve this billing problem where it appears that maybe Children's Hospital system did not add the hours correctly. So my advice
Yeah.
is if anyone else finds himself in this situation, call your insurance provider, ask for a management escalation immediately so you don't waste your time talking to people who just want to explain what your policy says to you, even though you've already read it. Management escalation, force them to call the billing department at your hospital and let them talk it through. It'll save you a lot of time and headache. Also, if you have claims denied, I'd recommend, and you feel they should have been covered, I would submit claims to your state insurance sort of regulator and also the attorney general in your state. So that was an extremely frustrating experience. It's been months and months.
That's great advice. And Margo, thinking about your experience, what moment really mattered to you to go right? What was that moment in this experience where it could have resolved in a positive experience for you and your family?
There are a few different things. Logging into Cigna, I'd like to see all of the insurance on the homepage that I have with links to the policy. That would have been step one rather than me having to call several people to figure out where to go on their website.
Yes.
And that's bad UX design. 2, it would have been nice for my first claim to be approved, paid. If that would have gone smoothly, we wouldn't be in this situation. So basically, I just ended up feeling like they do nothing to actually help the people that they're supposed to be providing help for. A little bit of human touch would be nice.
Yes. And it sounds like you didn't even know your claim was denied for 2 months because you had to sort of intuitively wonder and then go into the portal and try to find it.
Yeah, there's no notification. It's possible something came in the mail. I don't always check my mail immediately. I'm mostly online.
And let me ask you, when it was denied, was there any sort of process you could follow to remedy the situation, or was that something you had to figure out and navigate on your own?
The only option, it did say, if you disagree with this, you can appeal. And it explained how to do that. I don't remember the details, but I think it said you need to resubmit information that proves that you were there. One of the problems too is that for a normal human being, like most of us are who don't work in healthcare, they use all these codes on all the hospital bills and no one knows what they mean except for those professionals. So it's like a completely different language. So it's not this UBO4 form that you have to submit. And then the codes on it just mean nothing to your normal person.
Right.
So having to decipher it forces you to call people. I'd recommend recording your phone calls with those people because they talk really fast and you're in the middle of stress, trying to get the problem solved, and you're just trying to understand.
How likely are you to use this insurance in the future?
I will no longer be using Cigna Hospital Indemnity. It's a waste of my money and time and energy. It's such a difficult experience, and I think they just count on people giving up.
You expect them to come through when you need that service. And I would say, too, when it comes to a denied claim, that's where a human element should step back in and look through the documents with you and help you understand what might be missing, what might be throwing off the claim, allow you some time to help them understand more information they need to know, allow them more time to follow up. Sounds like there wasn't follow up with the health systems. It was just all based on the things that you sent them. It sounds like there could have been a lot more human hand-holding through the experience that, could have brought you to a successful resolution at the end.
Absolutely. And I honestly feel that in this age of AI, a little bit of human critical thinking rather than just using whatever algorithms they use would have been really helpful because they would have seen that actually what the algorithm is saying that the claim's denied based on this one code doesn't make sense given all the evidence.
Right. Very good point. So I'll leave you with this. In Experian Health's 2025 State of Claims report, 41% of providers say at least 1 in 10 claims is denied. Among high utilizers, those with over 10 provider visits a year, 27% experience a denied claim. And in 2024, Experian notes that denials, delays, and data errors are still pervasive, draining revenue cycles. Only 29% of consumers whose issue included a denied claim said their biggest problem with their insurance was resolved satisfactory. So that means 71%, including yours, Margo, of claims were not resolved satisfactory. What patients expect across the claim experience is clarity and transparency, stability and consistency, empathy, support and guidance, simplicity and ease, and finally, fairness and trust.
I think the thing that really got me is this sense of injustice when I knew as a human being reading the policy that it should have been covered and how come they weren't seeing it. And it just sort of made me feel quite depressed because I felt like this world we live in isn't honoring the contracts that they say that they will. And that's really disempowering and sad. It's a sad state of affairs. Well, thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Margo, for sharing your story about your healthcare claim experience with Cigna Hospital Indemnity Insurance. And thanks to our listeners for tuning into the Experience Gap, the Insight Shop to the rescue, helping businesses turn frustration into delight, one experience at a time.